Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. Tensions in the Middle East are escalating very quickly in ways that may have consequences for Israel. Saudi Arabia has just accused Lebanon of declaring war against its kingdom. This comes mere days after Lebanon's prime minister shockingly resigned from office while abroad in Saudi Arabia and publicly announced that Hezbollah and Iran had overrun the Lebanese government. Iran's foreign minister has just fired back at those claims on Twitter. Iran apparently blames President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, for, quote, regional bullying that led to the Lebanese prime minister's sudden resignation. Kushner visited Saudi Arabia last month, leading the United States envoy to push for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Making this international mess even more complicated, we've just learned that Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has made a surprise visit to Saudi Arabia as well. So let's try to make sense of this for a second. Iran and Saudi Arabia are fierce rivals. Lebanon has now been wedged between them, and both Hezbollah and Iran have footholds in Lebanon. But don't forget that the PA is reconciling with Hamas right now, and just last week, Hamas held talks with Hezbollah as well. Confused yet? I don't blame you. But needless to say, these shifting alliances are certainly going to mean new challenges for Israel, which is stuck in the middle. In the city of Ashdod this morning, 2 people were injured and 3 cars were destroyed in an apparent mafia-related attack. According to reports, one vehicle in a parking lot near a residential apartment block and a high school exploded, which then caused 2 nearby vehicles to violently catch fire as well. The 2 victims, who are both in their 40s, were standing near the vehicles when they blew up, before being rushed by Magen David Adom paramedics to the Assuta Medical Center. They are suffering from light to moderate wounds. The boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement on United States campuses nearly got their way this week, when the HILLEL Center for Jewish Life in Princeton University rescinded their speaking invitation to Israeli Foreign Minister Tzipi Hotovely. Hotovely is currently on a campus tour to speak against the growing influence of BDS in American universities, but under pressure from, quote, progressive activists, HILLEL canceled their hosting of the event just hours before it was scheduled to take place. Hotovely responded that to cancel her speaking engagement, quote, with no warning and without just cause, is a perfect example of the deep and severe crisis of values, end quote. Regardless of Hillel's actions, though, Hotovely came to Princeton and gave her speech anyway, when the Princeton Chabad House picked up the baton that Hillel dropped and invited Hotovely instead. Hillel made a statement apologizing for the decision to postpone, concluding with the hopes of continuing a, quote, robust and healthy debate about Israel in our community, end quote. But Hotovely later sent a letter to the director of Princeton's Hillel, Rabbi Julie Roth, saying, quote, by canceling this lecture, you are infringing on the fundamental academic freedom of the students. You are denying the basic freedom of students to hear different points of views, to question, to challenge, and think for themselves. By agreeing to the demands of radical voices, Hillel is silencing the voice of Israeli democracy, end quote. Her comments are probably not the robust debate that Hillel was looking for. It's the Tel Aviv HABIMA Theater's 100th anniversary, but the celebrations are marked with a very odd revelation. The Israeli National Theater was once meant to play for Nazi Germany in 1937. Hoping to perform in Nazi Germany under Hitler but before the Holocaust or war really began, the head of HABIMA in 1937 sent a letter to Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels requesting to perform in their country. The letter explains that, quote, the Hebrew National Theater will be arriving in Paris for the National Fair in October and asks permission to be hosted by the Culture Society in Berlin for 2 weeks from November 3rd, end quote. In a telegram response, Goebbels responded very positively, extending the invitation to the HABIMA troupe that they asked for. Perhaps fortunately for the Jews in that troupe, however, upon their arrival in Germany, they were greeted with another telegram that canceled their performance at the last minute. The Hebrew performance group simply picked up and moved on to their next leg of the tour, and that was the end of the story, at least until now when the telegrams were revealed by HABIMA in honor of their centennial celebrations. The messages will be put on display at the HABIMA Theater in Tel Aviv this week. Looks like Israel's legendary Iron Dome missile defense system is coming to the land down under. That's right, Australia has just committed billions of dollars towards importing the system, along with tons of other advanced Israeli defense tech. Israel's Iron Dome was developed by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems and has proven incredibly effective at intercepting enemy rockets from ever hitting Israeli soil. Countries all over the world have had their eye on implementing the system for themselves, but it looks like Australia will officially be the first. Australia's military has just earmarked billions of dollars for making the purchase, which will even include opening a new branch of the Rafael company in Melbourne. That means that the Israeli defense company would work directly alongside other Australian defense companies. And while Rafael already has over 100 other collaborative projects with countries all over the world, this joint venture with Australia's military would be a massive upgrade. On top of the Iron Dome, the Land of Oz is expected to buy an array of Israeli missiles and systems, including the Trophy tank system and the Spike LR2 for long-range air defense. Quite the shopping list. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.